Hey everybody, welcome to a special episode of Top of the Pods here on the Irish Wrestling Podcast. I'm joined back again for the fourth time on our show is Jonathan Davenport. Jonathan, how are things?
Oh man, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I love being on your show. We talk about the funnest stuff, and I don't know if you're like me, but like when you get to a certain age, you have to make hanging out with your friends a project. That's
You
the
do.
only way to make time for it. So the fact that we're calling this a show is great, but mainly it's cool to just hang out and talk geek stuff with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as you can see from the poster behind me, we're here to talk about Deadpool Wolverine and some stuff that went down at San Diego Comic Con as well. So,
Oh, whoops. I watched Thor the Dark World. I made a
oh
mistake.
no, not that one.
Let me go watch Deadpool Wolverine. I'll be right back.
Geez, I can't remember. I think I've only seen Thor: Dark World once.
You know, that's a weird one. At the time that I saw it, I really, really enjoyed it. I felt like it was Viking Star Wars in space. I thought it was a lot of fun. And then everyone started pooping on it and saying that was the worst one, that was the worst movie. And I was like, you guys are crazy. And then I went back and rewatched it and I was like, oh, this is horrible. Well, it's not horrible, but it's boring
It's
compared
boring.
to
Nothing happens. It's just strange that she gets the which stone is implanted in her. She gets it trapped in.
The red one,
Right.
the ether, they called it, but I don't remember which stone it ended up being, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm blank now. I can't remember. But that was the whole premise of the whole thing, was just to get it out of her, but
Yeah,
just didn't really go anywhere.
nah.
Thankfully, Rocket went back in time and stole from her instead in Endgame, so that worked out.
That's right. I forgot about that. That's right. Time
Um,
heist.
well, we'll get into Deadpool and Wolverine first of all, and we'll talk about what happened in San Diego Comic Con, because I want to get your pick your brain on some things that went on there. So what was your overall thoughts on like the anticipation going into Deadpool and Wolverine? Was like as high as it was for Infinity War and Endgame? Did it live up to the hype?
Oh boy. Okay, so you're right. The anticipation was very high, I think, in the nerdosphere. For me in particular, it wasn't that high.
No.
I like the Deadpool movies. I think they're fun, but like I'm not like a huge like a Deadpool fan or anything. I like him. I like him.
Yeah.
You know. Obviously I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And I was also, like everybody else, like a little bit like, is this a good idea
I know,
after
yeah.
Logan? I don't know. So I was kind of going in sort of cautiously optimistic. The trailers looked great. It looked like it was in good hands. It looked like they were going to be smart with it. So I think I went in with managed expectations. But I loved it. I had so much fun in that movie. It was a blast. Like I can't argue with any of its success. It's earned it. It delivered on all the promises that it made. If you're not someone who enjoys the Ryan Reynolds like fast staccato, if you don't love all the swearing, if like gore is not your thing, it's a living nightmare, the movie, I'm sure.
It's not exactly a family friendly MCU movie,
not exactly, although I would argue that it's probably one of the more family friendly R-rated movies. Because it's mainly language. And like no like egregious nudity or anything that I can remember. And also the gore, the blood, the violence, whatever is sort of done so comically over the top. That it's kind of, it's a comedy, so
it is kind of like a Tom and Jerry cartoon where they're constantly killing each other without the swearing. Like, I mean, they could do like the way they do with some of the, some rap songs or hip hop songs that come on the radio, and there's a radio edit and they, take out all the swear words out of it. So they could, they could edit this into a kids friendly one where, Mother Trucker or whatever they're calling these days.
Didn't they do that one? Was there a PG-13 version of one of the Deadpool movies at one point? I'm trying to remember. I think
it's the first one. I think it came out at Christmas time. They had a Christmassy thing. Yeah. So that is something they could do, because my friend, we went to see it, and a week later he brought his kids to see it, who were like 12 and 13. So he just wanted to see, because they were, his son is a big Funko Pop collector and he's obsessed with Deadpool and Marvel stuff. So he wanted to see it. He was dying to see it, but he said he'd bring him on a Sunday afternoon when nobody's around or watching. So he absolutely loved it, swearing and all. So, you know,
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, getting to see like an adult movie, meaning one that had like, you know, adult language in it or something, was like, it felt sneaky and dangerous and wrong and stuff, and that kind of added to the fun.
yeah, we like the same friend. We went to see when Ant-Man first came out. We brought his other son, who was like 10 at the time, but it was a
Yeah.
12 over here. It was 12 rated, so you had to be 12 and over. And I remember we were walking into the cinema and the poster said 12 on it, and he stopped and he said, "I can't go in. I'm too young. They're not going to let me in." I was like, "It's okay. You're coming with us. It's okay."
That's adorable.
And that was just for Ant-Man. Like, so I can't imagine trying to sneak kids into this one.
What about you? What did you think? You've seen it twice now, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I actually loved it the second time. I liked it even more the second time. I was like, expecting some of this stuff, some of the humor to go, yeah, and the punchline is no longer funny, like, but I thought I picked up on a lot more stuff second time watching it. Watched some of the YouTube videos that people review it, or they pick out all the Easter eggs that happened in it. Like, and there was one thing that I'd never seen. I was looking online for stuff to see if there's other Easter eggs I could find. And there's one thing that really caught my attention was in the background behind Nova. She had a variant of Bullseye. He had the
No
bullseye on his
way.
head. Yeah, if you go back and watch it, there's even clips online. He's just standing right behind her after she drives Wolverine into the ground and drags him.
Oh yeah,
He's standing right behind her, and you can see the bullseye
you
mark
can
on
see
his
the
head.
thing.
So it's not the Colin Farrell version of it, but later on, whenever they all arrive back to fight them, there's a small cameo or little clip if you see. I think it is Wolverine's fighting somebody, and the camera pans around, and you can see Elektra fighting Bullseye.
No way.
Just
that actually happens in the movie.
Yeah, they're fighting each other. Just for a split second, I paused it and I went back and I came home and I got a clip off it. I screen grabbed the scene, and I said, "That's Elektra," and that's the person who's the Bullseye variant. So she's trying to get her revenge on Bullseye for killing her in the Deadpool movie.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I didn't know that. They should have gotten Bullseye played by Colin Firth. I think people would like that.
It would have been mad. All right, yeah. There was a lot of. What did you think? Like, there was a lot of great cameos. Like having Blade back was, goosebump moment. Like I was obsessed with Blade coming back, but it was a tribute to the Fox, X-Men universe. But there was no X-Men in the movie besides Wolverine. I thought, like, the people who, like, there was no Rogue. There was no. Besides, we got Gambit, but he didn't appear in any movies. Like, so did you feel like they maybe missed out on having more X-Men in the movie, even for cameos?
Man, it's fascinating. The whole cameo game is fascinating. Like, I think you can overdo it, where it just feels like cameo fest, that you're just doing it as a stunt. I felt like it was pretty smartly done in this movie. First, I have to talk about Blade, just to have said it on record. I love Blade, especially the first movie. I watched that so many times. Like, me and my buddy in film school, like, we got so much into Blade that we started becoming fans of Stephen Norrington, the director, and he made like a movie. I can't remember the name of the movie anymore, but it was like a horror machine. I can't remember what it was called, but like, we watched that a bunch of times. So that was really fun. The second one, obviously, Guillermo del Toro, very cool, and does not get the credit that it deserves. I think it's the first time in movies where there's a flying camera. Remember when Blade jumps out the window and the camera circles around or whatever? People do it all the time now, but I don't think it was. I think it was like invented for that movie. It was really cool. No one talks about it. So, in that vein, and also the fact that no one remembers this. Well, no, some people remember, but a lot of people don't remember that Marvel movies were a joke for decades. A joke. And the whole joke was that DC movies are awesome and Marvel can't make a movie to save their life, right?
Yeah.
Then came Blade, everyone says then came X-Men, and that's true, but Blade came before that. That was the first good Marvel movie, and I don't feel like it gets credit for it. And then Marvel later on, the MCU became this hit-making machine, and then they take Blade and they recast it. So I felt like Wesley Snipes as portraying that character. Yeah, like he never got his flowers for doing the work and like carrying the universe on his shoulders for a while. So for me, it was really, really gratifying for him to have, like, I think, the biggest pop in the whole movie. Like, was it like that in your theater when Blade walked out?
Obsessed. And I had seen, before we got to see the film, I was scrolling through, I didn't see any spoilers, but I seen a clip of him walking out at the Comic-Con, and I thought, I didn't put two and two together, because I thought maybe they were just, they were just giving him some plaudits at the Comic-Con. Maybe not that in a million years that I think he'd be the one making the cameo, and I was just, oh yes. And I was like,
exploded.
I hope they give him another movie. I hope he's in Secret Wars, or he's going to appear in something else, and it's, they have two Blades in one scene at some stage in the future.
They could do anything they want now. That's the great thing about it. So if they do more, awesome. If they don't do any more, it's still great. So anyway, so I just wanted to say that, just so it's on record, how much I enjoyed that Blade pop. It was so good. But but on to your other point about the X-Men, and you're right, it was totally like a love letter to the Fox generation of Marvel movies, which was really cool. I didn't miss the X-Men. I thought for sure there'd be some digs at Scott, but there weren't, so that was interesting. So I didn't really miss them, but it was weird walking out of the movie thinking back and going like, hey, there were like almost no MCU people in it. Like Happy Hogan, I guess.
Just about, but
not real. Was there anyone else in there from the MCU proper? It really was a Fox movie.
It was completely dedicated to Fox. Yeah,
pretty interesting.
They went out of their way to make sure that it wasn't based on, like, so they can leave that for Secret Wars or whatever's coming beyond that.
Yeah,
we're assuming that Deadpool and Wolverine will be back. I'm presuming Hugh Jackman is going to be there until he's 90, or if not.
You know the rule, right? It made money. It made money. No, I don't know. No one ever goes out on a high note.
No way.
It's just make them until we are sick of them, and then they stop.
Yeah, I can't wait. But what did you think of Gambit? What did you think of Channing Tatum's Gambit?
You go first.
It was so hilarious. The minute he started talking, I was straight back. We were at WrestleMania in San Francisco for WrestleMania 31 2015, and on the way, I think it was the way over there, we were simultaneously watching 22 Jump Street. When he did the "My Name is Jeff." And I actually, in the airport, I think it was in the airport in Dublin, we were flying out. We were at Starbucks, and I ordered coffee, and I gave my name as Jerry, and the coffees came back with Jeff written on the cups. So the whole trip, all I did was say, anytime we went to a Starbucks or somewhere, and I always said Jeff was my name instead of saying Jerry, just to play along with it. So whenever he came out and he started doing that talking, I was like, oh my God, he's doing that bad accent again, and it's brilliant. It was so funny.
Oh, good. Man, do you remember back in the day all the pre-production and the rumors, and there's going to be a Channing Tatum Gambit movie? I remember that too. And at the time, I've changed my tune since then, but at the time I was not a fan of his. But he also, it's kind of, in my opinion, the same thing as Brad Pitt had and Ryan Reynolds had, where I felt like they were, when they first hit, they were presented as like heartthrobs, and they were only in very like lady-centric movies. And I would only go on them, see those movies on dates, the whole time you're just like, your date is more interested in the person on screen than you, and it's like, it's hard to get behind Brad Pitt, Ryan Reynolds, and Channing Tatum when they're your competition. But then they all just started, eventually making more like 4-quadrant movies, different types of movies. And then I got to see them in different light, and I was like, oh, they all have range and they're all good. Channing Tatum in particular in Hateful Eight, really loved his part. I loved him in that. So random. So I've changed my tune on him. I think it would have been cool now to have gotten a Gambit movie. I don't really need one.
No.
It was cool to
Yeah.
see, like, just get him in the suit. Did you see the training video of him that he did,
Yeah,
like behind the scenes? That was
sick.
better than what was in the movie.
Yeah, I thought it was like, oh, it was a stuntman, or they were using CGI to make him do everything, most of the stuff, but he was doing it all training. And same with Jennifer Garner as well. She had a training video up as well when she was using the sights. Like, wicked look.
I knew that she could do it because I
Mm.
remember all the videos that came out when Daredevil came out,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Affleck one. Yes, and like there were a lot of behind the scenes stuff about her learning the size and whatever. So I knew that she, I don't know if you forget the skills. I don't know if it's like riding a bike if you pick it back up, but I knew she could do it. I didn't know the Channing Tatum stuff, but I thought it was really smart the way he incorporated dance moves into his
Yeah, yeah,
choreography,
yeah.
just because that's kind of what he's known for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great, man. Everybody did so well.
I know.
I can't think of another movie that was so well handled dealing with such tricky material, because this could have gone off the rails so easily, so quickly. Talk about walking a tightrope. You've got two protagonists, two main characters who can't die,
Yeah.
that regenerate, and whose main power is like puncturing holes in someone else. And there shouldn't be any stakes. Like, you shouldn't care at all what happens to them. Them fighting should be you going like, oh, all right, wrap it up.
No,
And they somehow managed to keep it fun through the whole movie. It was great.
it was brilliant. The fight inside the Honda was just epic.
I have a take on that. Can I talk about the Honda
Yeah,
Odyssey?
go
Okay.
ahead.
So, I haven't heard this anywhere else. So if you do hear it, let me know, because I want to know if anyone else thinks this. I think the entire movie is structured like a love story, like a rom-com. Like, there's two people who hate each other and they have to get together, like kind of like all buddy cop movies.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this one specifically, there's usually a point right in the middle of those stories. It's the midpoint where the two characters in a rom-com or a romantic movie finally get together and hook up, right? And that should be, it's like, we're finally together. And then the next day, like, an ex shows up, or you find out that it was all a ruse or whatever. Something terrible happens, but it happens right after the best possible thing. In this movie, not only is it structured that way, but I think it's shot that way too, because they're in a car, they're having their thing, and then they start going at it, and then they shoot it exactly like you would a bedroom scene. They go to the back of it, and then they kind of like pan down and scroll away. Imagine it's the bed and you're seeing the bed rock, or they're in a car and you're seeing the car rock. And then what they always do is dissolve, just to say, and then they did it all night. And then they did, and then they cut back, and it's the overhead shot looking down at the two of them, like all worn out. It's such a good meta joke.
Yeah, that is great. I haven't heard that one though. I've heard people saying, you mentioned a rom-com or a buddy comedy, like Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, and it was kind of like a homage to them burning the car and Trains, Planes, and they're driving along with the burnt out car kind of thing, where the car was destroyed as well. That was some of the stuff, but I never thought about that, as a romantic scene turned into a fight scene inside the car.
I think they did. It seems too intentional to me. And so much of the movie was handled with so much care that there's some movies that, like, you can't give them benefit of the doubt, but this one I think you easily comfortably can.
Yeah. We got to talk about the suit. Wolverine finally put on the suit. And now I know you've been inspired by this suit a few times. People have come to you looking for ring gear and stuff inspired by Wolverine. What was it like to see it finally on Hugh Jackman specifically?
Man, okay, so obviously we didn't have to wait for the movie to see him in the suit. It was all over the marketing material. So, like, I love looking at the fine details. It's what I do. So I remember going to the theater with my family to see something, and then there was a giant standee of this movie in the lobby, and I got to really look at the details. I think it's so smart what they did, because in the comics, comics are comics. You can get
Yeah.
away with a lot more, you know? So you can put stripes all over him. You can like say like, oh, he's like an animal because he's wearing stripes or whatever. But in real life, the character of Logan doesn't feel like he'd be like, and put some stripes on it. You know, it doesn't follow. It feels like weird. So I love that they kind of made it feel a little tactical. It almost feels like straps rather than stripes, you know? They did a great job with that. The shoulder pauldrons are really cool. I was wondering if they were going to make them metallic or not. They found a way to do it without making them look like space age, like going off into angles. I thought the suit was awesome. But I will say two things. One is that I have always preferred the brown and tan suit. I don't know, it just feels more Wolverine-y to me. Like it feels like, and it works in the comics because like I think feels like his solo suit, and the more incorporated he becomes into the team, he's starting to wear the team colors, the gold and blue, you know, so that it works. It's cool. And so thematically it works in this movie too, because he's carrying the memory of his fallen comrades with him. So it makes sense. But I was so happy to see the brown and tan. It looked so good. They did such a good job with that. I know it's on screen for like 10 seconds, not even. But I loved seeing that. So that's the first. The second is, let's talk about the mask, but you go first.
That's been played every time we go on social media now, and there's just short videos playing over and over again. It's all just that happening. It's just like, finally, and even Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds says it, you know, you waited till now to put it. Was just a brilliant like inside joke, you know, him finally putting on the mask that, you know, we thought we'd never see. Because like if you go back to the first X-Men film, there's a scene in it where he takes the piss out of them for actually wanting to suit up, like, and he's just like, why do we have to wear this, like, and he finally gets to wear it, and it just pulled the mask down, and the eyes were just perfect.
Did you know it was going to happen?
No, not at all.
Really?
No.
That surprises me.
Yeah, because when they walked out like a prayer, and they were just like getting ready to fight, and I was like, all right, here we go. And when he did that, I was like, what's he doing? And then it started coming up. I was like, no. And my friend was sitting beside me, and I grabbed his leg, and I was like, fuck.
That makes me so happy. It might be because I think about gear like all the time, like too much. But the fact that they were ticking off boxes in so many ways, and it felt so much like this is a wish fulfillment for a lot of reasons. This movie, I was like, they have to put the mask in. They have to. So it will be in there. And the fact that it was so missing from all the marketing materials, it made me feel like they're definitely doing it. They're definitely saving it for a moment. They're going for the pop. So slow-mo, as soon as his arms went up, I was like, I think I was leading to my wife, I was like, this is it. Here it comes. We're going to see it now, finally. And I did like it in general. That mask is not designed for live action. It's just not.
No, it's not
made for that, you know? And it works in this movie, this comedy. And in certain shots, it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
But there are other shots, and I know this is not a popular opinion, where I don't think it works. Like, I think it looks a little weird. It takes you out of it. I feel like it sits a little high on his head. It's not anything that I'll call them gear. It's not anything that the gear makers did incorrectly. Like, it's just, it doesn't lend itself to live action, I don't think. Like I said, it works in this movie, but I feel like the costume designers from previous movies should feel totally justified right now to go like, this would not work in the tone of the movies that we were making.
No.
Like, it would not work.
Absolutely not.
So I think a place for everything and everything in its place. We got what we wanted. I'll also say, were you shocked that he kept the mask on for the rest of the movie?
Yeah, I thought like he put it up and rip it off again. Or like the only scene besides him putting it on, the only scene where it actually worked for me was when they jumped out of the back of the bus and he did the pose. After that, like the fight scene, he didn't need to have the mask for the fight scene because it was like you weren't seeing it anyway.
So I'm with you. I thought for sure, like after that one shot bus scene, I was like, okay, and that's a wrap on the mask, everybody. That's a wrap on the mask. and then he wore it for the rest of the movie. And I was like, oh man, the balls on these people.
Yeah, when they were, this at the end, whenever they were holding hands at the end, and he rips off, the top, and he's, ripped the shit, like, he didn't need the mask for that scene at all. Like,
it was so strange, and it was also a big gamble because you remember Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. So I only saw it once. I liked it fine, but I remember there was a moment at the end where Doctor Strange has to give this very emotional speech to I can't remember her name, the star girl. America
Ferrera.
But yeah, her. He had to give this emotional speech, and it was well written and well performed, I think, but he was a zombie at the time. So his face was like horribly disfigured and falling apart, and he's like, you gotta believe in yourself. And it was like, it made it funny when I don't think it was intended to be funny, so that's, I feel like, the risk that they sort of took here, where at the end there's like an emotional goodbye where the character is, he's spocking, and that's, I feel like, when you want to see Hugh Jackman's eyes, emoting, and they had him in the mask for it. And if I were to nitpick, if I were to change one thing, I would say, like, have him take off the mask, have him do his goodbye, and then go and like lose the mask for the rest of the movie, just because you want to see that moment,
What did you think of the soundtrack, and how it laid itself to the movie? Because I've been killed here for the last week because I'm still singing NSYNC probably at least twice a day. I can't stop.
We have to talk about that.
Yeah.
My man, so I saw it the Thursday night, the night before, like, the official opening.
Yeah.
That entire weekend. Now, this is before like Dance Pool became a thing, but that whole weekend, one by one, as my friends would see it and hit me up and go like, hey, I saw it, what'd you think? I'd say like, hey, I have this strong urge to see the movie again, specifically to see the NSYNC part at the beginning. Is that weird? And then they would go, no, I can't stop thinking about that dance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right? It's what's happening? And like, at least 3 or 4 of my friends all had the same thing. And now I think it's become like a thing, a well-known thing, that like that Dance Pool is like its own meme. And it was a weird choice to do it, but I can't stop thinking about it.
It's genius though, because like you could have picked any song in the world and it could have been a dance to anything, but I think specifically, I think there was a reason for picking it, because it was number 1 in the charts, in the Billboard charts, the same time the first X-Men movie came out. They came out around the same time, so I think that was one of the reasons why. I'm not sure it's the whole reason, but obviously he's not the one doing the dance. I would love to see Ryan Reynolds attempt to dance outside of the Deadpool costume to see if he can do it though.
Okay, I didn't know that. That makes perfect sense. I guess also in a way it's saying bye to the Fox universe if you're looking for for things like that. I want to pat myself on the back for this too, because I said to my friends, I was like, no shade on Ryan Reynolds, but those don't look like the moves of a 50-year-old.
No.
Like, those moves are crisp, they're tight, they look better than NSYNC doing it. Like, if I was
convinced before I found out it was a dance.
Him.
Yeah, before I found out, I was convinced they were going to have like Justin Timberlake on a cameo, and it would have been him doing it and not tell anybody, and he just did the dance and went away before they actually released the name of the person.
That actually would have been pretty dope. But I'm so glad they got the guy they got. He's so good. I've been watching him on Instagram just separately. He's lithe. He's got great balance. Like, this is a person that was born for this. I also, am I crazy? It wasn't in the movie, but in the trailers, was there a scene where the TVA elevator opens and Deadpool's doing a split and then stands from a split?
Yeah, he does. I think he does. He does do that, doesn't he? After he puts on the costume.
That's when it should happen, but I think in the movie he just has his back turned and turned around and smacks his ass. But I don't know if does he do the split? You saw it twice though. You would know.
I think he does.
Okay.
I think that, yeah, as far as I know, definitely the elevator opens and he smacks his own ass, but
I don't remember if the split was in the movie. But regardless,
possible.
It was, we both remember it. So it's either the Mandela effect.
Yeah. Or remembering it from the trailer.
Right? Yeah. But if that happened, it was shot. And I wonder if that was Deadpool as well.
I'd say right?
So,
because they did
I know
mention,
it's not Ryan Reynolds, but like, you know,
they did mention on the making of it though, that before they even released it, that he was spending less time in the costume, and a lot of the the footage that was going to appear online, all the pictures, it was obviously not Ryan Reynolds with Hugh Jackman in some of the fight scenes.
In general, how do you feel about that?
It's hard to say, because it's his humor. It's obviously not his body doing the fight scenes, but it's kind of, you feel a little bit cheated because it's not him. He's on screen with Hugh Jackman, but it's not him.
Yeah,
it's kind of a haiku kind of thing.
I like that. Yeah, I don't care. Like I thought, like when I was the time that I grew up back in the 1800s, like, you know, there was like, the whole thing was like, the movie stars are there for the acting, and the stuntmen are there for the stunting.
Yeah.
You know, and somewhere between Tom Cruise and Jackie Chan and like all the protein keto workouts that all actors must do now to be in a movie, like I feel like it sort of shifted where we started expecting our A-list actors to be doing all the action too. And that's fine, but I don't think you get as good of action as you do when professionals do it, you know?
No,
like,
you don't.
Keanu Reeves is great, right? But he's not as good as a professional stuntman.
Oh, of course not. But he does try though.
He does. I'm not saying,
stuff.
Yeah, he's got it on me. I couldn't do it. You know, he looks great, very believable. But you know, if you get a pro stunt performer doing it, like, you're going to get The Raid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get like something incredible.
Yeah.
So, but there's practical things to think about too. Like, you know, you're going to see close-ups. You're going to see him from the side. You don't want to computer map his face onto everything. But with superheroes, built-in excuse. I don't want to see Michael Keaton trying to punch a guy. He's 92 years old. Let him act. Let Punch Man punch people.
He's an Oscar winner as well. Like, he shouldn't be doing that stuff.
No.
The good thing about it though was you were able to have Deadpool and Goodpool or Happy Pool, whatever he called himself, with the long hair, with a really strong Canadian Nice Pool, sorry, on screen together without having to use CGI or any sort of tricks. It was just easy, an easy way to shoot it.
You're right. Yeah. What a great character. I'm a real fan of the writing of this movie. Like, I don't know, the team is great. The team is great. They have a talent. They know what is going to feel good for us. They know what will work, what will land, what won't. I heard that they're like shooting alt jokes all the time. If the joke as written doesn't feel well when it's performed, they're like, all right, what else we got? Let's beat it. Let's make a better joke. And it's like, it shows. It's like the difference between a movie being made by people who truly care about it and people who that's their job. Nothing wrong with that, but like, you can feel the difference. You can feel the love. It just comes through.
Before we finish up talking about Deadpool Wolverine, there was one last character that my wife will kill me if we don't talk about. DOGPOOL.
Let's talk about your wife's take on DOGPOOL. What did you think?
What did you think about DOGPOOL? The best character in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, DOGPOOL his own movie.
DOGPOOL should have his own movie. Imagine there wasn't
DC Super Pets got their own movie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they had their own movie, right? It could work. Like, it doesn't have to be a live action. It could be a cartoon, like, like the way they did with Groot, had his own animated shorts.
It's actually a great idea, dude. I think an animated Dogpool movie or series would be amazing.
Yeah, because it's the marketing would be amazing for it. Kids would absolutely love it, and we would love it as well. Like, but it would probably sell like hotcakes if they had.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's already a dog. I think there's already a Dogpool Funko Pop as well. I think it's
Is
already.
it really?
I think there's already one out there.
Oh, horrible.
I know, but the owners of that dog are going to be minted after this.
Oh, I know, I know. That's like it's like a famous dog or something, right? Like it's like the
Yeah,
world's
it
ugliest
was
dog.
ugly. Last year was one of the world's ugliest dog, and Reynolds, he was in Wrexham at the time shooting the series for
Yeah.
Welcome to Wrexham, and he spotted it in the news or something, and he said he had to have him. He had to have him for Dogpool, and went up and got him, and just like that, signed him up. I signed her up. Sorry, it was a female.
That's fantastic. I didn't know all that. That's awesome.
Mad.
I don't know if they still make true behind the scenes documentaries
I
about movies anymore, but
I
like I
don't.
would love for them to make one about this. I would love to hear everything that went into it.
Yeah, they do. They do some sort of thing on Disney. They do some uh kind of like like the Disney stuff, the Imagineering stuff, like, but it's not exactly a documentary. It's just like little details. But I think the one of the best documentary behind the scenes documentaries I ever witnessed was Full Tilt Boogie, which Harvey Keitel shot himself during the making of From Dusk Till Dawn. He made his own behind the scenes documentary while he was on film, while he was on set filming that movie. It was a DVD extra. It came up as a DVD. There was like a double box set when I got the DVD, and it was just randomly there. Full Tilt Boogie. He even named it, and they followed them around the making of From Dusk Till Dawn, which is wicked.
I had no idea. I need
Yeah,
to look that up. That sounds awesome.
it's brilliant. It's really good.
That sounds really cool. I love that. I also miss commentary. Do they do that anymore?
I'm not
Commentary
sure.
tracks?
I'm not sure. Like, I can't remember last time I actually bought a DVD to listen to
No,
comments.
I know that's the problem.
It's
It's like
gone past it.
what do you do with a commentary track now?
Yeah, nowadays you can do watch-alongs and people just something. I think during the pandemic there wasn't a lot of actors and directors that watch-alongs of some of their movies and did that kind of commentary with them over Zoom whenever it was a popular thing and everybody
That would
was meeting.
actually they should do something like that. They could do it for charity or whatever, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
get the original people there, do a watch along, just have them talk through the movie. That'd be great. I'll take
yeah,
that. I just want to
yeah.
hear the stories.
Yeah, yeah. So where would you say Deadpool and Wolverine lies with you now in the like the what is it 36? I think there's 36 MCU movies now in total. I think it's something like that.
36. Wow. Are we counting the Fox movies too?
No, we'll just stick with the MCU because
Wow. On the upper end, my somebody threw me some stat. They were like, hey, there's been X number of MCU movies. How many of them have you actually loved? And it wasn't just movies, it was the shows too. It was like the projects. And I had seen most of the movies. I still haven't seen Marvels or Eternals. I kind of after Endgame, I sort of was like, it's not like I lost interest, but like I felt like I finished the story. So
yeah.
I was like, that was great. Oh, you guys are still talking. I
Yeah.
I didn't really. So like, oh, I know what it was. It was a list of things after Endgame. So like, but of the ones post Endgame, I'd only seen half of them, and of those half, I'd only finished half of that, and of that half, like I loved half. So it got smaller. But I'd put this under the Russo movies.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to compare like what they do, the drama and the action with like a comedy. You get your hits either way, but it's tough to compare. Although I know comedy is very hard. So I would put this like on par with the Spider-Man movies, which I hold in very high regard. How about you?
Yeah, I would say like up there with Thor, the third Thor movie. I can't even remember.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, yeah. It's like
that was a great one.
For humor in the MCU, I think it's right up there for the comedy side of things. Like it's you're right. It is hard to judge it compared to the rest of the MCU before Endgame, like because there's so many great movies. Not every movie before Endgame was great either. Like, but
Sure.
if you take from like Winter Soldier onwards, maybe like they seem to get better and better after that. Like even though Winter Soldier is probably one of my favorite outside of the Infinity Wars.
I'm with you. Winter Soldier outside of the universe ending movies,
the Avengers themselves.
Yeah, that Winter Soldier is my favorite. I think.
Yeah.
It's so good. That's what I want a G.I. Joe movie to feel like.
Yeah.
Like you could do that like with like political thriller, like the shootouts, the chase scenes. Like there's nothing in Winter Soldier that you couldn't do in a G.I. Joe movie, you know?
Totally, yeah. And they're saying, like, I'm just going to we'll touch on Comic-Con because during the Thunderbolts segment, they did mention that they were looking at going into the road of Winter Soldier. It's like, this is the type of, it's going to be like a political thriller kind of thing. That's what they're going back to. So thankfully the Russo brothers are back.
I was going to say, get people who can do it, because you can call it a political thriller all you want, but someone's got to be able to execute.
Why did they ever leave? Where did they go?
Where would you, well, like, they did it.
Yeah, but
we're done.
Come on.
Like the chances of them blowing it after nailing Endgame are so high, so astronomically high, versus like topping themselves. Like it's like every athlete who's ever retired. Like that's a perfect time to stop. Great time to go and make some other humongous deal somewhere else, because look at what I just did. Like remember oh boy, I want to say, was it Book of Henry? I can't remember. What's the Colin Tomero? I can't remember the names right now. I still have COVID brain. But anyway, Trevorrow, the Jurassic World director. So so he was on board to make a Star Wars movie. Like, because he'd just done one and done a movie, and everybody was like, oh yeah, Colin Trevorrow for sure. You should come do a Star Wars movie. And then he was like, cool. And then made a personal project in between called Book of Henry that was received so poorly that he lost his Star Wars job. So like, I think the Russos did the right thing by like taking a break. And these movies take forever to make. They probably just needed to stop. They just needed to stop. They did. They did great.
Are you glad they're back? So
I don't know how to feel.
Well, how do you feel now is that not that they're back, but Robert Downey Jr. is also back as Dr. Doom?
Curious. It was an interesting, like, that weekend was fun.
Yeah.
Right? Because we had just, what did we just come off of? We just came off of something really good. I don't remember, but X-Men 97.
Yeah.
Right? So Marvel, Marvel was kind of at a low. You can't be on top forever. It's sort of ebbing a little bit. And X-Men 97 came and people were like, oh, we like Marvel again. There's hope, perhaps, Then X-Men, Deadman Wolverine came out and people got more excited. And then that news hit and it was like just this like awesome combo that it was hard to beat. So it was a very fun weekend. But I feel like kind of now in the afterglow, I'm seeing more and more people going like, wait, do we want that? Wait, is that a good idea? I don't know. What do you think?
I was blown away when it happened. I was like, oh, he's back. Everybody expecting him to come back in some sort of form for Secret Wars, or there was going to a variant of Iron Man was going to come back, but coming back is it's the biggest heel turn in movie history, isn't it? It is. It is such a heel turn, he's probably perfect for the role. Like if he hadn't been playing Iron Man all along, like Robert Downey Jr. would be the perfect person to be that, Dr. Doom heel kind of thing, because even though he's a bad guy throughout the comics, in his history he's not always the bad guy. He's more the anti-hero, and he teams up with Iron Man in some of the comics and he joins forces with them and eventually turns on them again. They usual stuff, they think they can trust him but they can't really trust him, he's probably the perfect person to play it. I couldn't think of anybody else off the top of my head. No,
I don't know. I can't either. But I think they're going to have their work cut out for them. Well, we don't know what story they're telling. No. We don't know. So if they're telling the story of a Tony Stark variant who goes on to become Dr. Doom, then cool. If they're not, if they're saying there's another person in the multiverse who has this face and he is Victor Von Doom, they're going to have a hard time, I think. Like you and me, I think we can wrap our heads around it, but I think that there's other people who are not as nerdy who are going to be like, why is Tony Stark Dr. Doom now? Like, I think it's so his face is Tony Stark.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
he was in Oppenheimer, they're like, oh, there's Tony Stark as Oppenheimer. But you know what I mean? Like it's his face is baked into that character now. It's going to be so hard for them to separate it out unless they lean into a Tony Stark variant version.
Yeah, I think that's the only option, because like I see people comparing it to Hulk Hogan turning, joining the NWO kind of thing. It's like how can he be, after being years of being the good guy and the red and yellow, how can he just turn and wear black and white? And this is some similar.
Yeah. It's like, what if Hulk Hogan was the Undertaker?
Yeah.
No, that's Hulk Hogan. So I don't know, man. I'm here for the ride. I believe in the Russos. I don't know. Did you ever watch Community? Was that a show that you enjoyed?
I think I watched the first season. I haven't finished it off. Yeah.
Oh man, you never got to the good stuff.
No.
The first season is when Dan Harmon and the Russos were trying to make a show that NBC would like. In the second season, they gave up on that and just started making a show that they would like, and it just started leaning into it, and it got like weirder and weirder as it went on. It was awesome. But have you ever seen you've both seen the paintball episodes?
Yeah.
Okay, so those things, and there's other episodes where they just ape genres, like from different movies and shows. You can see how well they imitate, like they're learning machines. Like they can watch a movie, understand the visual language of it, understand the pacing of it, and get what makes it a political thriller, get what makes it an action movie, get what makes it a comedy. And they can replicate that formula very well. So I have ultimate faith in the Russo brothers. I think that if they have a story that's worth telling, that they're going to tell it better than anybody. Let's just hope they have a good story.
Yeah, absolutely. Exciting times though. Like we're back. Like
it's nice to be excited about things again.
Great, but it's in the same hand that you've got DC, a new version of the DCU or whatever they're going to call it now under James Gunn. Like, so there's a big competition now between the two sides, because James Gunn he's coming from that side of the MCU where he made things great, and now the Russo brothers are like competing against each other, even though they had shots and against DC, like shooting at Henry Cavill coming in as the Cowboy.
I love it. I'm excited about it. I think I love James Gunn also. Been a fan of his since he was in Trauma. I think he's one of those rare people that like has both sides of his brain firing on all cylinders. Like, I think he gets logically what makes a story structured well, what makes it work, but then also emotionally what makes you care and feel. I think Superman is a super underrated character. I think it's incredibly difficult to write for him unless you've got exactly the right mindset. I think James Gunn has a really good shot at it. I think he's got a good take. And I remember back in the beginning of the MCU when people were really excited about Cap and thinking like, well, how come when Superman stands up and does the right thing, he's boring and a Boy Scout or whatever, but then when Captain America, who's the same personality type, does it, it's like we love him. So it's not fair. I think Superman gets a bad rap. I would love to see someone give Superman the Cap treatment.
Yeah, Superman was always my favorite.
Really?
Growing up with the Christopher Reeve movies, like that was the only superhero, like besides Batman, like, but Batman was just a billionaire, like with some suits and some weapons. Like Superman was actually a superhero, like, so besides the Incredible Hulk TV series, that was the movie that we used to watch every year. Even though it's not a Christmas movie, it seemed to be on every year. Christmas is the only time you ever get to see it. So Superman will always have a place in my heart, and I hated that they kind of made a joke of it after that Superman Returns movie that Brandon
Routh
was in. Like, it was just, that was supposed to be a continuation of the Christopher Reeve character, so that kind of really pissed me off. Like, so I really liked Henry Cavill as Superman, though. I really think they're underrated movies. Like, he was a really underrated Superman.
Man, I think you're right. I think Brandon Routh was great. I don't like that movie, but I think he was great.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they gave him another shot. I mean, yes, they
Yeah.
did later in the Arrowverse stuff. He played the
Yeah, yeah,
Kingdom
yeah,
Come
yeah.
Superman. But like nothing but respect for Brandon Routh. Same for Henry Cavill. Like if you love the Superman Zack Snyder movies, that's great. I'm really happy for you. Um, I don't feel like they were a great representation of Superman, the character. Like
Yeah.
he felt like Batman. He was like
Yeah,
dark
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
brooding,
Dark.
and yeah, it's like I like the contrast. And it felt like, okay, well, Man of Steel is like an origin movie. He will grow into the character of that represents hope and optimism, you know. But then he didn't. They just stayed dark.
Yeah.
So it was unfortunate. So I think Henry Cavill also was done a disservice by the movie he was in. I think he could have been, if you look at him in any other movie, he's so Superman-like.
Yeah.
And then you put him in Superman and he's Batman. So I don't know. Oh, did you like the Wolverine?
Yeah, it was brilliant.
He
Such
looked
a cool.
great, didn't he?
Looked. I want that to happen. I hope it happens. I'm not sure if he's going to be. They're looking at him for some other roles, but they should definitely have. He should definitely be in the MCU at some stage.
Did you see that they gave him his Mission Impossible?
Yeah, there was a clip. I think there was a clip online of him doing it in a few other films as well. It was
he does in other movies too.
I think he's
funny.
done it in other ones as well. I actually think he put it up himself actually on social media that he had 3 or 4 different versions of it, which is
that's really cool.
Really
yeah,
cool.
I'm a fan of his. I love how much he respects source material.
Yeah.
I think that I think I like him. I think he did the best he could with the material. I wish there was like just a different flavor injected into the character. Just sometimes, like I felt like it was just so dark. So this will be a new thing. I think this James Gunn movie will be the closest that we get in spirit to like a Christopher Reeve story or one from the comics or the animated series.
Yeah. Hopefully. Speaking of movies, you have a movie F plus.
Oh my gosh.
How's it going?
I'm unfortunately I'm not in charge of anything with that movie. But I have finally now seen it.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, so F plus for anyone hearing this the first time is a movie that I wrote that got shot last year. It's a movie about a middle school heist. So there's a bunch of brainy kids who are under a lot of pressure to pass this really important exam. And the grades come back and it turns out that they failed. They got a really weird grade in F plus. They don't think that it's right. So they combine their talents and their forces and tried to pull off the biggest heist of the middle school career to change their grades and save their futures. It's super fun. Randy Couture is in it, and he's really funny and really cool. Tommy Davidson is in it. Jennifer Esposito's in it. And our best friend, Big E, is also in the movie. I talked him into, please come in and play this one part, and he did it. And it was really nice. So I hadn't seen the movie in its completed form until very recently, like when the effects added and everything. And it rules. Like, it's really good. Like, I really enjoy it. And I think that there's kind of a nice spot for it out in the world because like just last night, I'm sitting on the couch with my family trying to find something that we all can watch. That, I won't be bored. My wife won't be insulted and my daughter won't be traumatized, you know, like
so not Deadpool Wolverine. So
maybe not. And there's just not a ton of movies right now for everybody. So I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of the story. I'm not sure when it's coming out. Unfortunately, it's the movie industry is in kind of a weird spot where a lot of the studios are sort of collapsing and reforming. I heard Paramount just got sold, but then somebody made a counter offer at the last moment. So I don't know. Like Paramount's been for sale for like months now. So it's a very strange time. I feel like the dust is starting to settle and then they're going to start buying and distributing projects again. When that happens, we're really hopeful that we'll find a great home on one of these streamers or something. And I can't wait for you guys to see it.
There is no like release date or anything like that yet. So
not currently. Yeah, unfortunately, but you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be excellent as well. Um,
Thanks, man.
Before I let you go, I have to mention it. The Turtles inspired gear that the New Day wore this week. Wow,
I'm
that was
so
so
happy
cool.
with that set. It came out so good, man. What a cool story behind it too. The okay, so as you know, there's a line of WWE X TMNT crossover figures coming out. Two of which are Xavier Woods as Donatello and Kofi Kingston
Brilliant.
as Michelangelo, right? Um, the guys mentioned it to me a while ago that like, hey, these figures are coming out. It'd be cool if we had gear that was like turtle inspired. And I was like, yeah, for sure. But there was another set that we had to do before that, which you haven't seen yet, but has been made, and we'll probably have to talk about it too because it's also very nerd inspired. So so I had to do that first, and then by the time it was becoming time to do the turtle stuff, like it turns out that the drop date was already on us, so we had to move super fast, and I churned those out like very quickly, probably the fastest I've ever done a set of gear, like maybe 36 hours or something.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And but it was things were on my side a little bit because we've been turtle fans since we were little boys,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I could draw the turtles in my sleep. I love them. I had access to renders of the figures so I could see what the characters looked like. What was really cool about this was actually done in conjunction with Paramount, so we had their blessing to do it. We did have to run all the design specs through their legal department to make sure it was all cleared. It was kind of a pain in the butt, like whenever you're working with a big company,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
happens. But it all went well. It was smooth. Everybody was enthusiastic, and it was cool. I was given permission to push the boundaries on the gear a little bit because I don't know, like part of me as a kid, I remember being disappointed when you get the toy and it doesn't look exactly like the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah.
So I want to honor that kid, but at the same time, it's live TV. It's got to look good. It's got to look good in front of a crowd, and the action figures aren't made for that. They're made to be dropped and made to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
not broken and bashed against each other,
You can't
so they
really
don't.
insert like a flicky button in the back of Kofi, like, make his arms go up and
Exactly,
down.
right, exactly. And yeah, so like I just told them the same thing I told Mattel when we were doing the Big E ATV set. I was like, if it looks like this in real life, it's not going to pop. Like
Mm-hmm.
it won't excite people. And if the point is to get people excited to the point where they're like, I would love to have a representation of this on my shelf, then it's just gotta have extra.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
gotta always go extra. So yeah, so they let me play around with it and add a lot of extra things that I thought would look good on screen. And then of course I handed it off to Robert, who
Yeah.
at Main Event Gear, and they worked. I know they pulled a couple of 22-hour shifts
Whoa.
to get this stuff done, like just like sewing as they're falling asleep, putting things together. But they spared no expense. Like they put like foam padding in
Mm-hmm.
parts, everything's cinched together really well. I don't know how they do what they do, but you saw the results. It looked so good,
It
didn't
looked
it?
so cool. Like I was, oh, this is the best. I think it was one of the best, probably best ring gears I've ever seen. Like if we go
Oh,
back to the new days, all the gear they wore, and this is one of those like, yes, look at this. Yes, they've
it
loads of Marvel gear. They've had loads of some cool, really cool gear. Like, but this was like, oh, this like I I want them to wear it forever. This is the kind of gear that they should be coming out to all the time.
oh,
I hope it's more than a once off, and they just continue to wear it and have a big,
me
like blow off with it. Like, and we talked about this, we were messaging about this, about Karrion Cross being Shredder and the
oh
AOP being
yeah.
Bebop and Rocksteady. Like,
Right. Yeah, man, I'm with you. I've been doing this. We just hit our 10-year anniversary,
yeah,
as you know, a couple weeks ago. So me and the New Day have been doing this for a decade now. Um, and there's some times when you think like, yeah, we had some real
mm,
pop culture moments. The big
yeah,
cereal box with the
yeah,
Dragon
yeah.
Ball stuff and the paint by numbers was really cool. Like all kinds of neat things, but like, you can't engineer a hit,
No,
you just got to do what you think is fun, what you think is funny, whatever. Um, So, you know, it's like you can't live for those moments. You just have to like have fun doing what you're doing. But then every once in a while, unpredictably, something happens like this, and it feels so good to watch how many people are excited, to see how many people are happy by it. You feel like it's all worth it, man. It was, what a gratifying set. And I don't know if you read the post, but back when it was just me and Woods back in 2013, one of the first sets he ever asked me to design for him was a Ninja Turtle set. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was just learning the trade. So I did my best. And I put that up just like the original design next to what he looked like. So you can kind of compare and see how far we came. And like Kofi and Woods were texting me all night over the weekend, just like this, and it was great because I had COVID too. So I wasn't feeling great. And they were talking about like how sentimental it was to see how far we've come, and that we're still doing things and still making people happy and still getting to do this weird job that shouldn't exist, but it does. It was really emotional for us, man. It felt really, really good.
Yeah, it's credit to the hard work. You know, it's like you said, you're comparing it to 10 years ago to a design to now, where you know you've evolved as a designer, and how comfortable it is for you now to say, oh yes, I know what I'm, you know, when it comes to like something like turtles, like, you know, instantly you know what you want to do, like compared to what you when you started out, you're like, what do we do? So, you know, it can only get better, like, so. But like, just let them keep the Turtles gear on for a good, you know, maybe up until WrestleMania before they want to change it again. So
that's what I want. You never know, man, because you know, this is one of those sets where weirdly Paramount actually paid for this set.
Yeah.
So they technically own it. And if they are like, all right, that's enough, pull it, then it might just be pulled out of nowhere. But we have a set, another set locked and loaded, ready to go.
What I would love, and it's probably fantasy booking, but because they came out in the cereal box in WrestleMania, I would love them to show up in a major entrance at WrestleMania in the Turtles van and come jumping out of the roof. You know, they come up at the roof and they're like coming up with swords.
That would be so good. That would be so good.
If they were able to get the copyright to the song as well, just even the opening riff, the guitar riff, and then just
the riff.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so good.
So we're putting it into the stratosphere there.
We'll put it to the universe.
Let's make it happen.
A turtle van for the new day,
Vegas, please. In Vegas, you know, the Turtles coming out in Vegas in the turtle van would be phenomenal.
Right? Put them on the Sphere.
You know what the Sphere looks like? You know, the Krang's
the Technodrome.
Technodrome. That's exactly.
That would be great.
They could totally turn it into
that. That would be so cool. Oh. Okay. Well, I'll make some calls.
It'll only cost I think it's like $10,000 an hour to rent out the Sphere or something. I don't know.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Jonathan,
thank you. Yeah, I really love
absolute pleasure speaking to you as always. It's great to sit there and talk about nerdy stuff. It's, you know.
You too, man. This is really fun. This is like we were supposed to do this last week and I unfortunately got sick. But this is one of those ones where it's like I can't let it go. Yeah. We have to do it. We have to talk about it while it's still relevant and it's still fun for us. And you know, not only that, if we know we're going to have a podcast, then you and I don't talk about it. So that's so we're trying to save it for the show.
Yeah, I know.
So this had to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, I finished the new Batman show, so let's schedule that.
Absolutely. That's on my list too. I'm going to definitely watch that. Thanks again for your time. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully we'll be back next week for another episode of Top of the Pods. Jonathan, thanks again.
Thank you.